All right, good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jim Becker, and I'm the president and CEO of the Richmond Community Foundation. Thank you so much for being here and for responding to our invitation to attend the 5th Annual Northern California Summit on Children and Youth.
At the end of the day, I can tell you as a 21-year veteran of the classroom, teaching and learning, mentoring young people always comes down to one thing and one thing only. It's not your building, it's not your program, it's not your stipend, it's relationships. Bottom line. Punishment does not change behavior. It never has and it never will. But discipline, a process by which you acknowledge when a young person is doing something wrong, and then you engage them in a loving and deeply caring manner as though they were your own son, as though they were your own blood. That is the process that begins to right and correct the behaviors that we say, we want them to stop doing. It's not an issue of the young people. It's an issue of the grown people and the way the grown people have chosen to interact with the young people. The same thing was said about my youth culture. The same thing was said about your youth culture. The same thing was said about your grandma's youth culture. There's always been a problem with youth culture. There's nothing wrong with young people. Young people are a reflection of the adult culture that they see.
For me in Richmond, the violence that's today is out of hand versus what it was when I was a kid. People like me, I had dope dealers that was willing to invest in me. I didn't have people in companies that was willing to invest in me. If I had that opportunity, I would have been in high school, stayed there. I had dope dealers willing to give me drugs that I can sell at high school. And I just went to high school and did my work and sold drugs. So I didn't get caught by the police. You don't have to invest the money solely in just the community. Invest it in that child. That's what they're looking for.
We're talking about communities like this community right here that voted yes on 3 strikes law. They voted yes on harsher penalties because we're afraid. We're afraid and we think that this system is going to save us. It hasn't. And then nobody cares once again until it touches you. That mother that voted yes on 3 strikes and then her substance abuse addicted son got 25 to life for stealing something out of a liquor store. And now she's like, oh, this is insane. This is crazy. Yeah, replace the money. Put the money where it really matters. Why are we paying a teacher $50,000 a year and we're paying a police officer $130,000? That's letting their children know what's important. That's letting them know more likely you're going to be arrested than graduate. So we're going to put our resources where it matters. These young people aren't dumb. They're not. They may be uneducated because they refuse to go to the schools that we teach at, but they're far from dumb, very intelligent, and they read us.
I mean, one thing that I would suggest is maybe be able to communicate on a one-on-one basis with your son or daughter. Just be able to understand them and just communication. Talk to them. Let them, be your mother. You could be their mother, their friend, their mentor. That's something that I would do.
Me personally, I don't usually cuss, but I'll say stay on his ass. Like, you catch that boy hanging on a block, bounce out your car like you finna do a drive-by and just snatch him by his collar and just like throw him in the back seat. I mean, you can either be the parent that say, I don't know what to do, let me go find Dr. Phil, or you can say the parent, I don't know what to do, let me hit this pipe, or you can be the parent that say, I don't know what to do, so I'm just not gonna do nothing. But the best thing you can always do is just stay on them, because later on in their life, the one thing they're gonna be able to say is like, my mom actually cared. And that's one thing I can actually say about my mom. My mom actually cared.
I have no right to be upset in 15 years when my daughter is with Kamari's son. And because I didn't invest in Kamari, Therefore, he didn't invest in his son. Now she has a boyfriend that's beating on her, making her sell herself, all these things. So it's my responsibility. It can be just selfish because I want my daughter to have a good man. Every youngster I bump into, I'm trying to make sure they're a good man. Just so. But brothers and sisters, why we can't love ourselves? Let's stop waiting for somebody else to solve this problem for us.
Your question shouldn't be, why should the court change, not split up the families? Your question should be, why should the families not want to split up themselves?
I would argue that, to a large degree, this is not a resource issue. Spending around prisons was, I think, referenced. It's about spending money differently. It's about spending money on things that promote the healthy development of people and not their incapacitation. Super Predator was research done by a very famous researcher by the name of John DeIlio. He actually took into account the growing numbers of boys and men of color in America. He said that these folks were jobless and godless. He calculated their growth in numbers over time. And he said that these super predators were going to run amok in this nation. That idea led to the building of the prison industrial complex that was also discussed earlier, supported by faulty research, right? And drove people to believe that disinvesting in the things that grow healthy people, education and employment training, was better spent if you built prisons. California engaged in the largest prison building experiment in the history of the world. And we all paid for it. If your sense is that foundations, presidents, or the President of the United States, or anybody else is going to fix what's happening in communities, you're mistaken. Because the people who know best what's happening, people who know best about what to do about it, are the folks sitting in this particular room as it relates to Richmond. Not those of us from Sacramento, from San Francisco, or even from Oakland. It's all of you. That's what's going to make a difference. I'm actually optimistic, and I've been at this for a very long time. I'm optimistic because I think we're reaching a time where people are just fed up, sick and tired. I'm going to demand some change happen. I'd ask people to be smart about it, not just angry. We've been angry black people for far too damn long, right? Don't let your anger and disappointment, lead to your being disconnected and non-involved. Your belief that because things haven't changed, that the future can't be different. Because I believe that is simply wrong. But help is about assistance. It's not a result. The result is up to all of you and all of us. So thank you, and I say stay tuned, because I believe good things are on the way. Thank you.
The leading causes of death for young Latino and black males between the ages of 15 and 24 are what? Homicide, suicide, and accidents. These three leading causes of death can be prevented with the type of resources and the type of support, complete wraparound programs that meet the needs of these young men of color. We have an opportunity today and the rest of our lives to save and improve the lives of meeting the individual preferences and needs of all the populations that we serve. And now, as a result of the Affordable Care Act, we can proudly say that health care is a right.
We have police officers that are social workers and have that mentality that their approach to our community has to be different than just these repressors of crime. But thanks to our approach collectively in the city of Richmond, including our police, we have reduced homicides by 66%, the lowest number in 33 years.
We need to begin to understand how to take courageous journeys with our young people. And those courageous journeys means that we have to go outside of the boundaries of our professional titles sometimes to find out how we could saturate these young people's lives with relationships and hope. Before the book came out, we had a really interesting conversation. John Rich is a surgeon. And he said, Sean, for years, and he writes this in the introduction of his book, that my job in the emergency room was to take the bullet out. Right? And I would see these young people come back into the hospital with the same injury, and eventually they would die. And he said, but the most significant wound that I was dealing with wasn't a physical wound. It was actually a psycho-spiritual, social wound, right? That they would know that they would come back. He recalls that one time a young brother was sewed up, and he said, I'll see you soon, Doc. I'll see you soon, Doc, knowing that he would probably end back into the emergency room. Acute trauma is oftentimes labeled, mislabeled, I should say, post-traumatic stress disorder. And the reason I say that it's mislabeled is because there's no post about it. I tend to like to use the term PTSE, persistent traumatic stress environment, because it takes the disease out of the young person and places it in the environment which created the condition in the first damn place. And so we need to begin to look at what is it in the environment that creates the kind of issues, and we ask different questions. We don't ask what's wrong with our young people, but as our trauma-informed approach says, that we need to ask what happened to our young people. How do we legislate hope? What kinds of policies can we think about that foster joy and imagination?
When we utilize a tool that is just as archaic and ineffective as using electric shock for schizophrenia, we should see that as just as dumb. And we are employing a very dumb practice in the juvenile criminal justice system. And when we incarcerate young people, it is ineffective, harmful, and excessively expensive. In the state juvenile justice system in California today, it costs more than $200,000 per year per youth. And what one massive study across the country showed was young people who engage in the juvenile justice system, involvement in the system itself meant that you were much more likely to drop out from high school and much more likely to be involved in the adult criminal justice system. That's what we got for the expensive involvement in the juvenile justice system. In 1996, there were 10,000 state inmates in the juvenile justice system. Today, there's 700. That is unbelievable. That is astronomical. It's a story that's not being told. That is something to celebrate. That effort, along with the police and along with the services that folks in here provide, has paid off tremendously. Where Richmond went from the highest per capita, most violent city in the state to almost not even showing up on the list. Congratulations, City of Richmond, by the way, for that incredible.
They'll learn better if we have them do things. That is to say, if we have them produce their own explanations, if we have them create their own YouTube videos, if we have them create their own brochures, students will learn because the task of producing explanations is how we learn anyway. So this was done at the time when Miley Cyrus was acting an absolute fool, right? So here's the problem. Miley Cyrus was acting crazy on MTV Music Awards last month. Few people know that she was not feeling well due to the fact that she hadn't gone to the bathroom in 3 days. Y'all didn't know that, did you? Although she had 3 meals per day, she did not use the bathroom, so why did this happen? So we never mentioned that this is a digestive system lesson. We're going to solve the problem, right? So the first thing they had to do is read as a group. Quick read. Read page 45 and then tell me about it, right? So that's one opportunity for explanation. Second, I said, you're going to watch this video. When you watch this video, look at your explanation. Tell me if you were right or if you were wrong. Here's the video.
What's up, brother, man? How you doing, brother? Man, how you been, dog? Good. See you playing these black video games, you ain't learning nothing.
Boring, man.
You ain't learning nothing.
Nah.
You played this?
What is that?
This is
weed.
It's called In and Out by Immaculate Minds.
In and Out, like a burger?
Like a burger, but like without eating. You know what I mean? So like we food traveling through the digestive system. You know what I mean?
That sounds really weird.
That sounds real hot. What are you talking about?
Really weird,
bro. We about to learn some science right now.
Pop it in,
man.
man.
You know what I'm saying? Pick up my
See me in something.
my thing, man. You gonna learn something today. You gonna learn something today.
Level 1. I chew beats out of mouth, chew food. Level numero uno, and it's simple to do because the mouth is a very complex tool. Swimming in saliva, dodging teeth, that's a mouthful. Oh snap, they trying to break me down. Look out for the big boss tongue, you run this town. I came and saw a tongue as big as my crown. Make moves like Mario, move on down.
I'm inside, real dark and slimy. Moving down, not up, being squeezed, I'm climbing. Down, going down like some Go-Gurt, yup. Peristalsis, that there is a process, bruh. I think I'm in your throat, aka your esophagus. Passing through these levels, ain't nobody out here stopping this.
All right, you get the point. We don't have a male mentoring problem. So let me be clear about that. Men will step in and fill the blanks when kids don't have mentors. The problem is that tends to be done in athletics. A man will come in and say, you know what? I will get the best out of you as an athlete. They will drive them to AAU tournaments. They will take them to the gym. They will get angry at them for not doing their workouts. Where is that happening in science and math education? When are men stepping in and saying, young man, I will not allow you to get less than a 4.0. I will take you to the science camp. I will pay for your tuition to this particular school. So we don't have a mentoring problem, we have a focus problem. The reason why we don't remember phone numbers is because we never have to actually punch the numbers in. When we scroll down, we push the button, right? The process of punching in the number is how we remember the number. Cognition is simple, learning is simple. The process of having to explain something is how you remember. So let me say it differently. The day that I had to look up the number, I typed it in wrong, it was a wrong number, and then I typed it in again correctly. When I type it in correctly is how I retain the information. This is how learning happens. We call it cognitive schema theory. So what do we do in classrooms? Who does the talking? The teacher. So who's learning? So when we tell our students, be quiet and stop talking, right? If talking is how we actually remember the information, we're guaranteeing one thing. We guarantee our young people don't learn. So a classroom should be a loud place where every student is talking, where every student is explaining, where I need the wrong answer. Because the wrong answer is dialing in the number the wrong way. And when I give you that answer correctly the second time, that's when you get clarity. Does that make sense? Practices are the opposite of learning practices. We do things like this. We think teachers are unskilled, so we give them scripted curriculum. This will solve the teacher problem. Instead of paying them more so we can get the best teachers, we say, all right, I'll give you a script to read because we're going to teacher-proof the school. We believe that saying the scientific word is the same as knowing the concept. So when you ask a kid about osmosis, they'll say, well, it's areas of water moving from high concentration to low concentration. What does that mean? When you ask the what does that mean question, clueless, right? But until we start to think about it differently, we'll never really be able to do two things. Affirm a beautiful answer to say, you know what, that is a beautiful answer. What the kids know will become invisible. We need to take responsibility for our schools and make it priority. And let me say this about Richmond. Richmond is the ideal site because you're just small enough where you can make things happen. And you're large enough where that impact can be incredible.
Something else that we're doing in the healthcare world is I'm proud to co-author this year a bill called SB 1005 that will provide healthcare coverage for all members of our community regardless of your immigration status. My belief on healthcare and health is that healthcare and health are both human rights. They're not just for some, they're for all. And one of the bills I have this year will provide for community college classes to be taught for credit to go towards a certificate or a degree to state prisoners in prison. The statistics that we've seen show very clearly that education is the key factor in preventing recidivism. So if we're serious about reducing recidivism and supporting our formerly incarcerated population, this is a very important bill, and that bill as well has received bipartisan support so far.
What is the plan we are going to do to get kids into college? What are the primary drivers? Is it family systems? Is it the counseling system? Is it the classroom system? What driver do we have the most leverage with, and what will we get the most success with?
But so my short answer is there is too much profit margin, but I am seeing the pendulum shifting toward reducing incarceration and even trying to improve incarceration when it's there. If Benjamin Franklin came back today, the only institution he would recognize is school. Right, because it's the same now as it was then. Right.
That's just my MO. No one's going to pay attention to me anyway, so why should I even participate? Because how many times have they not been acknowledged for who they are, where they come from? In fact, they're actually expected to be something else. So this idea of conocimiento, of acknowledgement, is your first step towards healing. Palabra to us means that you do what you say you're going to do. You develop responsibility around your word, your credible word. But the other part of palabra is that what you say has meaning. That you mean what you say. And so you learn to develop palabra, you tell stories.
So think about JT. Think about the gentleman that just got released from 26 years of incarceration. How many of those services do you think he's going to require? Probably. You give somebody a job, it's really important to teach them what's their relationship with money.
So one of the things that I'm urging people to do is develop a children's budget in your community, because you can't really ask for more money unless you know how much money you got.
This is not pie in the sky. This is not something that can only happen in San Francisco. We are on the ground. It is happening right now as we speak in Richmond.
If we do not lean into our unconscious bias, we will often reconstruct conscious racism.
Okay, it's a web-based app and it's going to be done for smartphones as well. So individuals real time can talk about their progress, their challenges, get points, move up the scale, stay connected with other participants, and staff can use it as a tracking, you know what I mean, and documentation of progress and efforts as well.
I know you don't. So we're looking for so you don't have a record.
I'd also like to acknowledge our sponsors very quickly. Kaiser Permanente, the California Endowment, Mechanics Bank, the City of Richmond, Comcast, Nutiva, Rise Together and the United Way, AT&T, the YMCA, Chevron, Courtyard by Marriott, Genzer and Watkins LLP, the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, Lincoln Child Center, and then all of our partner sponsors who are listed in your program. Let's give them a nice round of applause, please. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you all for being here. This was really an incredible day and a half. And I really want to thank our speakers, our sponsors, our presenters, and you for being here with us.